Hey, welcome back to Daily Flash. Mitch English along with Andrea Jackson. There is no doubt that the holidays bring lots of joy. But what else? How about stress, emotional triggers, and that pressure just to keep your cool? So joining us now with some great advice on how to stay grounded, present, and connected this holiday season is inspirational speaker TJ Woodward. TJ, welcome back to the show. We love having you on. Things doing well for you?
Thank you, Mitch. Things are going well. Thank you. And thank you for having me back on the show. Always love being here with you.
Well, we love having you on. I asked if you're doing well because this is a very stressful time of the year for everybody, including motivational folks. And that's what you're doing for us today. And you say you have 5 tips for us that's going to help us basically keep us together this holiday season. I'm going to start off with the first one. Beware of the holiday triggers. Why do holiday triggers actually bring such strong emotions?
Well, I think first we need to kind of talk about what a trigger is. It's a super popular conversation in our culture now. And when we think of triggers, we often think of someone or something outside of us that touches something, right? And we often focus on the other person and trying to change the situation. I invite someone to look at what's actually getting touched. There's nothing like the holidays, whether we're going back with family or we're just really busy. There's a lot of pressure for people trying to wrap up the year. There's so many moving parts that it can be super activating. The reason I like to use the word activate is it's not really what's happening as much as it's about what's getting touched. We can actually do something about that rather than trying to control someone. We look at what's getting touched and we tend to that.
It seems like when those things pop up, the last thing you say, it's Christmas, it's the holidays. We're not supposed to do that. You know what? Actually, it's the same issues. It's just now it has a theme, I guess is what you're saying, right? We have to know how to handle that, right?
Yeah, whether it's busyness or being back with family, the cliche, I remember in my early sort of evolution, or if you will, my mom would just know how to push my buttons. And I remember hearing someone say, our parents know how to push our buttons because they installed them, which I think is funny, but also it's my responsibility to heal them. It's not hers.
I love that. That is 100% true. Just don't tell my kids that because then they'll blame me. All right, this one I suffered with because, especially right after my divorce with my kids, create a presence, not perfection. I was so worried about making everything right so that things felt normal. What do you mean by creating just a presence of what's going on? And is it not worrying about the little things?
Yeah, I mean, it's really more about being fully present rather than trying to live from the outside in. I think you named it perfectly. A lot of times we try to manage the externals, like let's say, like what you said, going through a change, going through a divorce, something has happened. Maybe we've lost someone. That can also bring up a lot of feelings if it's our first holiday season without someone. So if we can be fully present from the inside out, if you will, rather than trying to like look perfect on the outside, it will go a very long way.
Yeah, and you're not going to remember that, the little small details. You're going to remember how you felt this season. And if you don't feel well, then you're going to have bad memories. I love that, TJ. Your next advice is to navigate the family dynamics with compassion, which sounds very easy. It's not, is it?
We talked about that earlier, right? I mean, a lot of times when we go back to family, that's the time we can get really activated.
Yes.
Compassion goes a long way. And that's, of course, compassion for myself. I remember early, like, let's just say my entire 20s, I would be with family and I would feel myself really activated and I would judge myself. So it's self-compassion and compassion for others. A lot of times we come to family, maybe we have different political views. There's conversations around the holidays that people might be uncomfortable. So just having curiosity, I like to say compassionate curiosity goes a long way.
I think too, what we, tell me how you feel about this, is that with our families, we think in our minds, well, they're always going to be my brother, so I can say and do whatever I want. At the end of the day, but if I did that with Jackson here, if I would say the same thing I would say to my family, to Jackson, she'd be offended by it, by all means. Is it a good measure to go, are you acting normal? Are you treating that person with understanding and basically understanding the whole situation, or are you just kind of bypassing that? Would you say that happens a lot?
That happens a lot. And not only that, but we end up reverting back. I remember, thinking, gosh, why do I feel like I'm a tween again? Or I feel like I'm a kid again when I'm around my family. But we also do that with our other family members, right? I might keep a family member stuck way in the past. And through this compassionate curiosity, we can actually be present with them rather than being in some old story about who we think they are.
Yeah, I love that. Being present, there's a great theme altogether. We go at your next tip, which is release the shame and pressure. In what aspect do you mean by that?
Well, we could do about a 20-minute
Yes,
segment
we
on just
can. I have
shame
plenty of
alone,
shame.
right? Yes. And so the difference between guilt and shame is is I think I've done something wrong. Shame is I think there's something fundamentally wrong with me. And again, not for everyone, but for some of us, we might feel shame when we're around our family. We might feel shame about not doing it perfectly during the holidays. We might feel shame about, as you said, like a divorce, a breakup, someone we've lost. Maybe we have some guilt about something we've done. So to be able to allow ourselves to heal that shame, again, the way we do that is by authenticity and presence. So shame is something that I think can really run the show. And a lot of us aren't even aware that it's happening.
No, you're right. And parents, and I'm guilty of it. You shame your kids, you don't even realize it because again, you're like, well, they're my kids, and they know I love them, and this comes from a place of love, but they might not understand it. That's a really good one. I appreciate that one. Your final thing that we need to make sure we're doing is simple grounding practice and a question of the day. All right, tell me something you write on the refrigerator or what? What do you mean by that?
Well, there's two things. One is grounding. It's sometimes as simple as pausing and taking a deep breath. You know, when we think about like if I have a reactivity,
Uh-huh.
my impulse is to say something. I can pause. I can take a deep breath. For me, sometimes it's just like putting my hand on my heart and saying, what am I actually feeling here? That keeps me from reacting. My question process is something really simple. I invite people to use open-ended questions that start with who, what, where, when, or how. How could I react differently here? What am I actually feeling? What else is possible? How can I be more compassionate with my family member? How can I be
I
more
love it.
curious? So these are open-ended questions that, we can use one to work with every day, or we can just have a few favorites. I
These
like
are
to say,
great.
what else is possible here? Yes.
TJ, thank you so much for joining us. And of course, you want to find out more. TJ has great ideas and how you can help.